So, as I'm looking over at my videos, I segregate the ones that actually did well, which were mostly my How to Train Your Dragon theory videos. So here I am, back with a new one. In the episode of View to the Skrill, we get to see a strike-class dragon that can only be described as a rival of Toothless. What I wanted answers to was the intriguing question of how the Skrill became frozen in the first place when it was found by the riders. So, first things first, we have to get the things that don't work out of the way. It wasn't Trap Riders. We haven't seen any other riders other than the gang, the A-Team, Valka, and Heather. We know that it definitely wasn't the gang, nor the A-Team since it wasn't formed yet. Or Heather, because even though she picked up on how to train some dragons, she was nowhere near messing around with the Skrill passively or aggressively. So, now, where does this leave us? I came up with three things that make sense. First one is Valka, then the Dragon Hunters, and then Berserkers. Alright, so Valka. After being taken away from her family by Cloudjumper, Valka later states that he didn't mean to hurt her, but instead take her to the Alpha. View my previous video about the Bewilder Beast and the Egg to get some insight about this video, because the theories in this kind of relate to the Alpha and the Egg. Anyways, Valka wouldn't have had any reason to trap a rare and alluring dragon such as the Skrill, especially since she basically just loves dragons and she cares for them. If she did though, she most likely would have had no choice, possibly because the Skrill wouldn't have listened to the Alpha, so it probably had to be banished or sent away. But we know this probably wasn't the case since the Skrill, which you can also check yet another video on whether these Skrills were the same or different, etc. But whatever, anyways, at the end, the Skrill, it was there fighting for the Alpha. So we know that that probably wasn't the case. Also, Valka did indeed trap it in the ice, and the Skrill could have taken revenge on her, or at least held a grudge, kind of like when it escaped from the glacier and raced to the edge, and it hunted for Hiccup and Toothless, as it remembered that they locked him in the glacier. If we put Valka out of the picture frame, the most obvious candidates, dragon hunters. We know that dragon hunters have been hunting dragons for generations. We also know that the dragon eye was a relic that belonged to the dragon hunters. Perhaps the dragon hunters had information about the Skrill, just like how they knew that water was the weakness in the episode A Time to a Skrill, as well as when Vigo used a metal dagger to attract the Skrill in the later episode in Race to the Edge. The dragon hunters could have hunted the Skrill species or even tried to find and enslave them, which could have led to the Skrills flying into the archipelago. Later, a Skrill, which could possibly be the Skrill that the writers found, would put the Skrill at a way older age than Toothless and Hiccup, which is why this theory doesn't make as much sense as the one that it kind of leads into, which is the Berserker tribe. Yeah, Berserkers. So, as the Skrill kind was being threatened, and since it already was a rare dragon like the Night Fury, they had to find some place to stay safe. So they flew and flew until they reached the archipelago. As generations progressed, the Skrills would have had offspring and lived off food from villages. And what village would have been closest to them? Most likely, yeah, Berserker Island. This is possibly where the myths and the stories of Berserkers and Skrills could have started. As time progressed, the Berserkers and the Skrills started to go and have a little bit of history, and they probably became more and more restless. Also, in my mind, I view the Skrill to be roughly around the same age as Toothless and Hiccup. So, as the population of the Skrills were already at low numbers because it's a rare dragon, and it's even lower now in a new area that they'd never been, and as the Berserkers were getting smarter, they had to disappear. The Skrills flew, trying to find a new place to live and a safer place to live. Berserkers knew how dangerous of a dragon this is, so they followed them. The Berserkers followed the Skrills, and as they did, they started to document and record everything they saw and information about the Skrills' behavior. Now, the Skrills are dragons, and they can handle cold temperatures, which the Berserkers, which were mighty warriors but nonetheless still human beings, could not. So of course they wouldn't be able to follow them everywhere that the Skrills went. The Berserkers, using their records and their maps and their notes, passed through generations and generations. The Skrill population dwindled and became smaller, eventually having possibly the only Skrill of its kind, aka the one that had a massive grudge against Toothless and Hiccup. Now, if it was possibly the same age as Hiccup and Toothless, since it was young, it could have been naive and careless, and as it was curious, it could have frozen. With all the records the Berserkers had about the Skrills and where they would probably settle, the Berserker tribe went and tried to find a Skrill, and as they did, they hit gold with the young Skrill that was frozen in the ice. Alright, so what does all this mean? Well, the Skrill that was already rare possibly may have not been in the archipelago, and as they were being hunted by dragon hunters, they had to move, so they flew to the archipelago. As they lost the dragon hunters, they gained Berserkers, and as they continued flying to try to find a safe spot away from dragon hunters, Berserkers, or just any tribe that would cause danger, they ended up losing most of the population, which eventually led to possibly the only Skrill remaining. So how exactly did the Skrill get frozen in that glacier? Maybe it was just careless, and with no parents to guide it, it just got lost and froze. And as for how the Berserkers found him so quickly, it could be of all the notes that the Berserker tribe took while documenting and following the Skrills. Well, that's about just gonna wrap up this video. If you guys like this video, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, and I'll see you guys next time.